See me right out of that sunset on your color TV screen. Out for all that I can get. If you know what I mean.
Hey, how's it going? I wanted to slip off and come down to the parking garage real quick so that I could describe the differences between the three different versions of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. The most obvious difference is online play. The PlayStation 2 version has it, the rest don't. It's just like Tony Hawk 3 in that respect. The PlayStation 2 version has support for USB-based Ethernet adapters and the standard Sony adapter, and it supports up to 8 players. The Xbox version really should have had Xbox Live support. There are already other games on the market with Xbox Live support, and it's pretty disappointing to see what could have been the best online version of the game not have it at all. The game does have System Link support, so you can still play 8-player matches. All the modes from the PlayStation 2 version are still in the Xbox version. You just have to play it on a LAN or use one of those crazy Xbox Online things, which rarely work well anyway. And of course, the GameCube version doesn't have any of that online stuff in it at all. You can play 2-player split screen, and as a result, it doesn't have modes like goal attack or capture the flag. Graphically, the differences between the three versions are pretty minor. The Xbox version technically does look the best, though in some spots it actually looks a little too sharp, which makes the pedestrians look even worse than they do on the other versions. The textures just look a little stretched and a little weird. The PlayStation 2 version runs at a really smooth frame rate, provided you're not playing in like a created park. Some of those have some stuttery kind of frame rate issues, but all that stuff's really minor. The Xbox version is pretty much stable throughout, and you'll never really notice a problem. The GameCube version of the game is actually a different story, though. It's really stuttery in a lot of spots. You'll notice, like when playing the tennis mini game, or just kind of when even skating around the game's first level, that there are some spots, particularly kind of near the tennis court, near the basketball court, around that area, where the frame rate just really chokes and starts stuttering all over the place. It's not so bad that it really gets in the way of the gameplay, but it's enough you kind of notice it and go, man, that's kind of ugly in some spots. One benefit the GameCube version does have over the PS2 version, though, is that the skater shadow actually looks a lot better on the GameCube. So,
bloody coppers don't want us bleeding skating anywhere. Haven't they got nothing better to do, you know what I mean? Grab each of their bleeding hats by doing a grab trick over and that'll sort them out.
What happened to integrity? My hat!
sound-wise, all three versions of the game are pretty much on par. Of course, in the Xbox version of the game, you can rip your own soundtracks, which is nice if you can't stand the Musca Beats stuff or any number of other songs on the game's real soundtrack. The game sound is pretty much identical across all three versions. I found the GameCube version to be a little tinny at times. Some of the sound effects just didn't seem quite as rich as they do on the Xbox and PS2, but it's not a major enough difference Gameplay-wise, all three versions of the game are identical. You're going to be doing the same stuff no matter which version of the game you pick up. So that's kind of a matter of preference when it comes to which controller you want to use to play the game. The PlayStation 2 version is really the easiest version to kind of pick up and play. The spine transfers, you do them with the R2 button, which you're already used to using for the revert, and it's kind of easy to pick up and get the spine transfers working. The other two versions of the game make you hit both triggers at the same time to execute the spine transfer. It's something you'll get used to, but at first it definitely is kind of a weird sensation of having to hit both these buttons at the same time to do it, and sometimes you'll mess that up before you really get it down. All three versions of the game are really outstanding. They all have their own kind of quirks here and there. One's better than the other in one aspect, but that version's better than another in one of the other aspects. you can't really go wrong with any of the three versions. But if you have to pick one, if you're a multi-console owner, the PlayStation 2 version's online support is really where it's at. They really made some nice expansions to it over Tony Hawk 3 by adding support for like a friends list and kind of keeping track of where people are and being able to play with your friends. You can play with created parks online, and those things really do add a whole lot to the game. So if you're someone who's interested at all in online play, which at this point you really should be, the PlayStation 2 version is by far the way to go. That said, if you're not going to play it online for whatever reason, the Xbox version is the best looking and has the soundtrack support, which is a nice touch. So if you can get past the little control issues that version has, then that version is just about as good.